Welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, I'm a photographer and photography educator, and I love travel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to plan the perfect trip in 8 simple steps. So a question I get asked quite often from friends and family is, how do you plan a trip? We've been traveling regularly for well over 7 years, and I've taken over 150 people to Europe through a combination of educational tours as well as travel with friends and family. So it's something that I enjoy doing and I have quite a bit of experience in, and I hope that these tips that I've crafted through the years can help you plan the trip of your lifetime. We've all been there where you're working on planning a trip and you start to get stressed and overwhelmed with all of the ideas and options that are available to you. So then you say whatever and start under planning your trip. I want to give you my tried and true tips for planning the best trip of your life, so that you can have an amazing experience you can look back on for years to come. So if you'd like to hear my 8 tips for planning an amazing trip, then please keep watching. So step 1 is to book your flights. Your flights really dictate your whole itinerary. There's lots of resources out there on the internet for how to get the best deals, when to fly, when to buy your tickets, and more. But really what I've found is the best way to save money is to be flexible with your itinerary. I know that's not possible for everyone, but just a little tip for you. I recommend looking at sites like Kiwi.com, Google Flights, and the airlines themselves. So booking directly through Delta or whoever it is that you wish to fly with. And another tip for you with using Google Flights, it scans lots of different websites. So something I like doing is setting it up to where it'll send you an email when the flight price that you're watching goes up and goes down. So that's a helpful way to save money as well. So step 2 is to plan out a loose itinerary. I do this myself using Google Docs, and I'm going to show you on my screen. So you want to start this off with your flight information. So I would put all of your flight details at the top of your document. And then on this page, you want to plan out, where are you going? What do you want to see, and plug these in. You'll build the document out more as you move through the rest of the steps in this video. So you can see at the top I've got where we're arriving, our train information, and then I'm just loosely putting what I would like to do on each day. So I want to go to Florence, and then possibly a day trip to the countryside. As I'm doing my research and my planning, I'll adjust these with what we've booked. And you can see for each of them, I've written just very loosely of what we're planning to do on those days. Another pro tip here is to do a little bit of research and look up any local celebrations or holidays that are happening in the time that you will be in your destination. So for example, when we were traveling to Italy a few years ago, we were planning to visit Rome and then Florence. But then we realized by doing this research that Florence in June has the celebration of St. John the Baptist, and there's lots of really awesome cultural events like their Calcio Storico game. And so we wanted to be there to see that. We wanted to see this traditional football game. It's the best thing you can compare it to. And also the fireworks and all of the events that were going on. So we were able to adjust our itinerary so that we could be in that city at that time to see the events. So step 3 is to book your Airbnbs. Now that you know where you're going, you want to consider where you want to stay. And so I would recommend, once again, doing some research. So for example, if you're going to Rome or to Paris, these cities have different neighborhoods that have completely different vibes and things that they offer. You would also want to consider where you want to be located. Do you want to be near the train station? Do you need to be close to the metro? Do you want to stay in more of a neighborhood, like a local feel, or do you want to stay close to the major sites? So all of these come into play when you're picking out the location for your Airbnb. Also, like I said, maybe you're going to Paris. So there are different neighborhoods in Paris called arrondissements, and maybe you've decided you would like to stay in the 7th. The 7th is really cool because this is where the Eiffel Tower is located, and this is also where, personally, my favorite museum in Paris, the Musée d'Orsay, is located. So perhaps you want to be near those things with your Airbnb. you can zoom in to that specific neighborhood and you can click through and you can see which apartments are available. And once again, you can zoom in as close as you want on this map to be positioned exactly where you need to be located based on what you're doing on your trip. So step 4 is to plan your day-to-day itinerary. Now bear with me on this. Sometimes when I recommend this to people, they think that, oh, well, I just want to go with the flow. I want to decide things on the fly while we're there, but let me show you what I mean. So I would recommend doing a loose itinerary. And with that, you should plan each day one specific thing that you're hoping to do. So you can see here on Tuesday, I want to go to the Uffizi Museum. On Wednesday, I want to go to the Accademia in Florence to see the David. On Thursday, I'm hoping to do a Vespa tour. On Friday, I'm planning to travel to Cinque Terre. And so all of this will guide the next step in my travel planning. You really want to make the best use of your time while traveling. And by having your one major thing that you want to do each day, you're making sure that you're getting to see and do those things for why you're going to this place in the first place. Maybe you are going to Rome and you're dying to see the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. Well, you would want to know that the chapel is closed on Sundays. And so you can adjust your itinerary accordingly so that you can make sure that you get to do all of the experiences that you're hoping for on your trip. You should look at hours of operation and also consider the flow of your travel when you're deciding what you want to do when. Step 5 is to book your tours and museum visits in advance. Now that you've decided what you would like to do and when, it's time to pre-book so that you can save yourself some serious time and stress while you're on your trip. If you've ever been to Rome, you will have seen people that don't plan ahead on their trips. So they'll wait in line outside the Vatican museums for hours in the sun, just waiting around the block just to get inside and buy a ticket. Where if you planned ahead, you could visit the Vatican website and see that you can book your tickets in advance to where you can simply get in line and walk in the door. And they even have cool experiences on these museum websites. Things, once again, like the Vatican Museum, they've got a breakfast where you can get there at 7 a.m., have breakfast in the gardens, and then have early entrance to the museum itself. And a lot of these places have things like that, and it just takes going on the website and booking ahead. So by booking online, you'll know exactly where to enter, what time to show up, and you can save so much time and stress on yourself to where you can be spontaneous and enjoy that fun breakfast and then head over to the museum at your specific booking time rather than wasting all of that time waiting in line. If you're visiting somewhere that's new to you, I would highly recommend some sort of a day tour in that place, whether it's a walking tour to get you oriented to the city or even something more spontaneous. One of my favorites was a vintage Vespa tour from Florence out into the countryside of Tuscany. This was actually a birthday gift that I gave to my husband, and we had such an amazing time. We booked ahead, so we knew exactly when and where to meet the guide at the shop, and we were with a local. So throughout the experience, they were teaching us about the place. We stopped at a few different locations, and we even rode out into the countryside and had lunch and some wine before we came back on the tour. And so this was great because once again, it was booked ahead of time. We had it set in our schedule that we were doing that on that day. And this was through Walkabout Tours in Florence. I'll have it linked down below. I highly recommend them. They've got a few different experiences that they offer as well. So step 6 is to book your trains or planes or cars, however you're transporting from place to place on your trip in advance. Once again, this is something that you could show up and do day of, but why waste that precious time on your trip when you could book that in advance? So rather than going to a foreign train station and trying to figure out where to go to buy your tickets, how to do it, and all of this while you're in a busy place, and maybe even prone to things like pickpocketers. Instead, you could show up with the tickets that you've already printed at home, go to your platform, and get on your train. It's so much nicer when you know exactly where to go and when, and once again, you're saving yourself more time on the actual trip by doing a little bit of planning in advance. A pro tip here is to base your train ticket times off of your Airbnb bookings, which is why I said that you should book your Airbnbs first. And this is because sometimes they're all completely different because they're set by the hosts, the times that you can check in and what time you can check out. So if you're not able to check into your new Airbnb until 3 p.m., but you decided to book a train where you're arriving in that city at 8 a.m., now you have all of your luggage and you have to decide something to do during that time, where instead you could kind of pace your travel out according to those check-in and check-out times of those Airbnbs. So step 7 is to plan your restaurants. Now, this is something that my friends who are maybe not so into travel planning as I am think that I've gone a little overboard, but hear me out on this one. Food and those experiences that you have at the table while traveling are some of the ones that you look back on most fondly. And when you're visiting places, trying the food is such an important part of the culture. So why not plan that out? So leading up to our trips, we spend time following people on Instagram, visiting blogs online, or even things that we hear about through travel books, and we save those so that when we visit these places, we know exactly the places that we want to eat at as well. And so when I say planning restaurants, it does not mean a rigid structure of we will eat here for breakfast, we will eat here for lunch, but more so just having those places collected so that you have options to work from. Because the amount of time that you sit there scrolling through TripAdvisor or Yelp, looking at suggestions which are from other tourists on where you should eat, you could reference the places that you've saved that you're dying to eat at. And so we collect all of this information leading up to our trip and we keep it all in one place. All of this brings me to step 8, which is to put it all on a Google map. I cannot recommend this enough because now that you've spent the time following these steps, planning your trip, you can put it all on this one visual format, which you can reference constantly on your phone or your device as you're traveling. And of course, it is a map, so you can use it to navigate from place to place. And so as you can see, I've got lots of different things tagged, from places that I want to go for breakfast, places that I want to go for a snack, where my Airbnb is located, and I can see all of it very clearly and very visually. I've got a video coming up next if you would like to check it out on how to create this Google map of your own. It's something that I use every time we travel and I cannot recommend it enough. The other great thing about saving a map like this is that you can use it while you're traveling even without internet connection. So it really is kind of like a confidence builder and a comfort. You know that you can check your map, see where you are and where you're going without worrying about being connected to the internet or not. If you would like to learn how to make your own Google map using all of your trip planning, I'm going to link that video up in the card above as well as in the description down below. And I wanted to say thank you so much for watching today. I really hope these tips help you plan the trip of your dreams. If you have your own travel planning tip that you'd like to add, please leave it down in the comments. If this video has helped you at all, I would love if you would hit the like button as well as subscribe. I've got lots of travel and photography themed videos coming soon, so I'll hope to see you in the next one. Bye!